Hey folks, in this episode I caught up with Tiziana Alocci. Tiziana is a data visualization designer and consultant and created this collection of artworks called the Necessity Collection. In this episode we'll learn about how this collection came about, how you can go and design your own visualizations like this, and give you some inspiration of how you can take moments of your own life and craft a data viz artwork just like these. I saw this collection you're putting together, the Necessity Collection, and you were talking about this as a way you regain control over OCD. And can you talk a bit about the inspiration behind this collection, please?
I had the chance to work with a record label based in Berlin, and they gave me, basically commissioned me some artworks for a record cover, which I have some here to show you. This is like the first that I made. And there's an actual vinyl inside. Yeah. So yeah, dropping from the bottom. Yeah. So that's how I started playing with data and sound. For that kind of collaboration was just a commission, so a commercial commission. So I didn't dig too much into it. But I was also doing some research and I found out some interesting parallels with the work of painters like Kandinsky, for example, which always has been my inspiration, and also psychologists like Freud and certain theories that Freud developed about sublimation, for example, without going too much into details. But and that blended together very nicely with a few things that happened in the meantime in my life. I record data. I've always been recording and collecting data, and part of the data collection recently has been recording small audio clips. So in the same way that I want to remember about a specific situation or a particular moment of my life, I just record a short bit of audio, like less than a minute, with my phone. So it's very basic. So, and then I had this huge collection of audio recordings, these field recordings. And in 2019, unfortunately, my father passed away, and that was a little bit of a turning point for the also life and work production, because in those days, during those months, and we had there was 2019, so we had the lockdown kicking off a few months after. I had a lot of time, and I was searching for a picture of us that I couldn't find. So I was in London, and maybe I thought maybe this is in Italy, but I wasn't there. And I was frustrated by not finding this picture. So I thought, what can I do? Shall I just Photoshop two of us together? That's cringe to like it. And then I thought about this research that I was doing, that maybe I can use the data to actually create an image. And the data that I had were our voices. So I made that artwork that visualizes two circles, the data behind our voices all together. And then it became a little bit of a fil rouge that connected all the works that I've done for Necessity. Basically, the goal is to take a picture, but using data. And I also like the metaphor of taking a picture, because for me, a data set, it's like taking a picture on a situation and framing it, and just looking at what happened in that specific amount of time. So I thought I'm going to use sound and field recordings, audios, in this specific case linked to my life, to create these pictures. And I did the same in different scenarios. One was about with me and my partner. We didn't have a picture together back in the days, so I thought I'm going to consensually record audio of us together, and then I'm going to create an image out of that. And that became the whole collection. And it's made of 4 different artworks, which are made in 2 different color schemes.
You mentioned there about you've been collecting all this data throughout your life, and how do you know what stuff to collect, or you just collect everything?
A good question. So it's a very unconscious act. And I guess that's linked with my OCD, which I apparently always had. It also came up with, after a long conversation with my therapist, how I managed to turn disturb into something useful for me. And again, that's kind of sublimation, the theory of sublimation. it's very unconscious, and it could be taking notes, doing sketches, recording audios, taking pictures. And I never showed these, but this is October 94
Okay.
and my name. So this is a series of drawings that I was doing every day when I was in primary school or kindergarten. So, and that's for a month, and I have so many because I collect them every month. So this was also part of what I call a data collection. So it doesn't have to be numbers. It doesn't have to stay or live in a spreadsheet. It could be anything. And in my case, it's very much linked to this ritual of, and this also compulsion to keep my mind busy doing something else, to find a balance. It turned out into a lot of data or a lot of materials that I can use now for my personal projects.
What I wanted to do, let's dive into the collection a little bit. You were recording audio in Victoria Park and then created this visualization. So how do you go from that audio to this? I'm amazed, and just want to learn a bit more about that.
This is probably out of the collection the one that everyone likes the most. I don't know why. I mean, I like it too, but I don't think it's my favorite. And so the image should resemble the section of a tree. What I do is, after the field recordings, is the process of listening back these audios and selecting the one that works best. And then, without going too much into details of the technical process, which is very boring, I just use audio manipulation software and Illustrator, because I'm not a coder, to create a shape that reassemble my initial inspiration, in this case, the section of a tree. So what I like to do is to take softwares, for example, graphic design softwares or illustration softwares, and push them to the extreme. Sometimes I say to hack them. So make them doing things that they don't look, they are made with Illustrator or with Photoshop. So I have people telling me, oh, which language did you write this piece of code? And I'm like, I'm not even a coder. I really have no idea how to code anything. So this is made in Illustrator. It takes a lot of time. It takes an awful amount of time, actually. But I like to craft all the details and spend time changing the colors, playing with the shadows. But the main shapes is generated from the recording itself. So I don't, like a data visualization, I don't change the master shape, but I play with it.
Yeah, it's amazing. So did you go into this one thinking you wanted to do the cross section of the tree to start with, or was it in that sort of playing phase with the data you kind of thought that shape would work for this visual?
I usually always have a few reference images, and I try to replicate them using data. I believe this is something that probably, I hope I'm not wrong, generative artists do. They see like a nice shape and they try to replicate it with code. So I kind of use that process, but without using code, and even without being too literal, because I don't want to. The main point is to use a shape that is driven by data. So I don't make the shape is made by the data, and then I play with it, but it's mainly with color and maybe some shadows, some blurring effect, to make them look like my reference image.
How do you know when to stop with these things? You invest quite a lot of time in it, you mentioned, but how do you know when enough is enough, when a project is finished in these cases?
Well, I don't. I don't at all. And I do believe I could carry on design. Everyone can. Every designer can carry on designing forever, because virtually a project is never finished. For commissions, I have deadline, and a client or a collector that wants its own artwork, so I have to stop at some point. For personal project, it's really hard, and most of the self-initiated works that I do, they don't even see the light of the day. I make them, maybe I don't like it, I'm not gonna share it. And I have entire collections. I overproduce every time. I have entire collections that I will never publish because maybe they're not good enough, or maybe they require too much of an effort to bring them to that super polished phase. But I don't have the time. I don't want to invest too much time on the project, and maybe I don't believe a lot. So it's really difficult to know when to stop. But I know that when I reach a point that I'm super happy about it, I actually feel it. It's weird, but
It's kind of like an
for
emotional state. Yeah.
exactly, for every version, like for that one there. So I made so many different options, and every time was like, don't know, maybe. But when I landed on the final one, I knew it. It was like immediate, like love at first sight. Like that's it. That's the one. I'm gonna just, polishing up a little bit, but that's it. So I'm waiting for that moment every time.
Yeah, no, I've been trying to understand it myself, and I know when something's done, when I'm happy with it, it's good to go. But I don't know when something achieves that. I really struggle with that one. I'm glad it's not just me. So
Oh yeah, no, not at all. And then there is a difference between the commercial works that I do for clients. So the most traditional data visualization that has brief, has deadline, and a certain different criteria. When I do the art commissions or the art collections, it's different. It's much more personal. So it's completely different things and different approach. I don't have pretty much anyone pressuring me to say this has to be delivered next week. When is a commission? Yes, but still.
lastly, is there anything else you're working on at the moment that we should be keeping an eye out for?
So I'm working on two different things. I can't say much, unfortunately, but I'm really happy, and it took a while.
Wow, I really enjoyed catching up with Tiziana, and here are some of my takeaways. There is data all around us, and Tiziana has unconsciously been collecting this data for all time, and this is anything from the form of sketches to audio clips. And all our tech nowadays unconsciously captures data about us. Is there data in there that you could use as your next data viz project? Hack the software. So Tiziana is using typical software packages to go and produce these visualizations, but really pushing them the boundaries of what they can and can't do to craft these visualizations. So whatever technology you're using, think about how far you can push this from what you currently know to produce a very unique piece of work. When we're working on commercial projects, yes, we have that hard deadline, but with a personal project, it's much harder to know when to stop. I was very reassured to know that actually a lot of projects don't quite make the light of day. So if you're losing that feel-good factor about your work, maybe put it to one side, come back to it later, or move on to the next piece of work. That is when you truly know when things are ready to stop, when you feel good about it. I'm super excited to see what Tiziana's got coming up next, so check out all those links in the description to follow along with all of Tiziana's work. Other than that, I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!